Hey, how's it going out there today, everybody? Hope everybody's having a great day. It's weekly recap time. If you guys don't know about weekly recap, you need to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, ring that bell so you know when I go live. Come hang out with me. It's a lot of fun. It's more fun than the Thai massage parlor next to the truck stop, but for a different reason. It's where you hang out, you laugh, and you learn, and we won't talk about what goes on over at that other place. But let's talk about weekly recap. So I go over the loads I did. I'm an owner operator. I'm leased to an 80-20 split carrier. The trailer's on them. Everything to do with the trailer's on them. I cover the truck, and that's how we operate. So I don't talk about my carrier. Go find yourself a good 80-20 split or 30-70, whatever the split is. Find a carrier that works for you, and if that's what you want to be. I do not put these numbers out to brag. This is for educational purposes only. If you make more than me, God bless you. You work hard at it, and you make more money. I'm not mad at you. But if you are like a company driver and you want to maybe run the numbers on becoming an owner operator, this is some reference for you. So I don't brag, and this is just educational purposes. And if I was putting out a bunch of lies, they'd be calling me on it every minute, every day. I have some good weeks. I have some bad weeks. It's all what it is. Now, this particular week I'm going to talk about right here was a very trying week. I'll get into that more in just a second. But basically, my system is I like to go from Minnesota, where I live, out and back. One load out, one load back. That's gravy for me. That's the way I like it. I like home time. I got a paid off truck. I put a lot of effort in when rates were really good, and paid off my truck, and I kind of got myself in a position now where I can be home a little more, but I still got to get out here and run and make money. So that's what it is. Weekly recap in a nutshell. Here we go. I did 2 loads, and I did 1 load that went from Minnesota. Had a few stops in Kentucky, and then finaled out over in West Virginia. And when I say a few stops, I mean 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 stops in Kentucky, 1 stop in West Virginia, finaled out. Boy, when I agreed to take this load, it was 14,000 pounds of absolute gravy. And then they said, oh, wait a minute. Let's put some more freight for one of these Kentucky stops on you and make it weigh 38,000 pounds. So not the end of the world. The load still paid really good. I was going to take it either way, but it's just a bummer when you think, oh, I got it made on this one. 14,000 pounds. Oh, I'm going to get killer fuel economy. I just psyched about it. But, yeah, it is what it is. Good customer. I didn't complain. I don't say nothing. I take it and I run. 38,000 pounds total on that one. 32 degrees. So, it was still nice and cool out. So the reefer didn't run a whole lot on that one. 36 empty miles, 1332 all in on the loaded miles, 1368 total miles. That load paid $7,000. It was a good load. That was a good load. And then I came over into Ohio, and I grabbed a load coming down to Atlanta because there was nothing coming back to the house, man. The back hauls are becoming the tricky part of my business these days. Number 1, trying to find one. Number 2, trying to find one where they'll give you a rate worth hauling. It is getting tough out here. Let me tell you, it is getting tough out here for these back hauls. Nothing coming back to Minnesota. There was a load like back to Chicago. And I mean, from West Virginia to Chicago, they was literally trying to get like $1,000. I'm like, what? I got to pull this through the mountains of West Virginia and Ohio. The eastern part of Ohio. I got to drag this heavy ass load through the mountains, and then deal with Chicago for $1,000. Like, really? So I took a load down to Georgia. Wasn't particularly what I wanted to do, but they had a load of chicken in Georgia that they had assigned to a driver, and the driver could not make it to get that. Had a little bit of an issue. So they called me and said, hey, if we can find a load to Georgia, will you go down there and recover that load? It's still on the docks. It just needs to be picked up ASAP and brought back up to Minnesota. I said, sure, I'll go down there and get it, because right now is not the time you want to be giving loads back to brokers. If you can stay on a load, stay on a load right now. It's my advice. So they found me a load out of Ohio, just right over into Ohio, not really far, 96 miles away from where I was at in West Virginia, over into Ohio, and that was a dry load, no reefer on that one. It was heavy as all hell, 42,000 pounds. Like I say, it went from Ohio down to Georgia, 96 empty miles, 589 miles next day delivery on that. So, yeah, tough. It was tough. So, sorry, I was looking at my calendar for a minute. I was trying to make sure. Yeah, this is I would consider this a full 7-day week. This is the end of April. This is the last week of April I'm reading off to you here. I usually stay a couple weeks behind on these. I feel like when I do more than one in a week, they don't get a lot of views, so I try to stick to one of these a week, and sometimes that gets me a little behind. Because if I'm on vacation, YouTube doesn't matter to me. If I'm off with my family, sorry YouTube, I'm not making videos. But so that was my week. Dry load, 42,000 pounds down to Atlanta. That paid $1,500 on 685 all-in miles, and that's what we keep track of here, all-in miles. Of course, I try to give you the loaded miles just to kind of give you a feel of what rates are or were a couple weeks ago. You know, it changes fast these days. So that was 589 loaded miles for $1,500 on a dry load. I think normally I would have been pretty salty about that. I don't think I would have took that, but I needed to get to Georgia and pick up a customer load coming back to Minnesota, so I agreed to this. And the fact that there was nothing paying nothing out of West Virginia coming back up into the upper Midwest where I needed to be, we roll with it. You know, sometimes it's not all what you want. Sometimes, a lot of times, let's face it, in trucking, it's about how do I make money this week, and that's what we did. That's what we did. So, like I said, this was a very trying week here. It was, I had issues. I had a coolant leak, and I didn't know if I needed to like stop and get the radiator done, because I knew it was a radiator. What it was, I had the injectors and cups done on my Detroit engine, and when they put that surge tank, you know, they had to take the surge tank off and like, you know, clean it out real good, because I had got diesel in my coolant. So when I got diesel in my coolant, and no, I didn't put when your injector cups go on a Detroit, most of the time that's the first thing you see is diesel in your coolant. When you get a dark surge tank, it's time to start thinking about some injector cups. But anyway, when they put that surge tank on, they didn't bolt. They snapped a bolt off on the top, and instead of fixing it, they just went with it. And of course, you know, I mean, that's not something I check on a regular. It's the bolts on the top of my surge tank. Maybe from now on I will. But it looked like to me what happened, that surge tank had got to vibrating around without having all the bolts in it. And it kind of started to pull my radiator apart on the top, because that surge tank is mounted to the top of the radiator. And so it looked like it just started to pull it apart on me. And it was just a small leak at first, and then I started pulling. I noticed it on the load down from Kentucky. I was getting a little bit of like, basically it was dripping down the radiator shroud and getting on the fan, and the fan was slinging it everywhere. So it looked really bad. But in the first like 5 days, I lost about a half a gallon of coolant. So it's something I needed to take care of, but it was one of those things where a half a gallon of coolant in 5 days, it was staying pretty steady, and I was like, you know what, I'm taking that to the house. I'm not gonna have some, run-of-the-mill shop bend me over a barrel for 2 weeks on that. So I said no. So what I did is, I just kept an eye on it. You know, check the coolant a couple. You know, like when I start out in the day, or if I set it a shipper for 2 or 3 hours, I'd pop the hood and look at it. I could kind of tell by what was leaking on the ground how bad it was leaking, so I just kept an eye on it. It started to get a little worse when I was pulling those mountains with 42,000 pounds of dry load on there. It was leaking pretty bad coming up some of those mountains. I stopped at the Tamarack there, and I was losing pretty good amount of coolant, but I just climbed a mountain in the middle of the day. I did call a roadside guy out. I tell you, shout out to you roadside guys, but some of them are just not worth the money. This one was not worth the money. Basically, he came out, he looked at it, and he said, yeah, I don't even know where it's leaking from. And I'm like, well, that's kind of why I called you out, so you could help me find where it's leaking. Because at that point, I wasn't sure exactly where it was leaking. I didn't know if I had a loose clamp, but I figured maybe by the time I climbed a mountain, if it's a loose clamp, it's going to show itself. He basically come out, charged $264 to put a gallon of coolant in there, and I'm like, hell, I got coolant back there in the back. You know, I keep 2 gallons of coolant, 2 gallons of oil on me at all times, and I'm like, I've only burnt through a gallon so far with it, and I'm like, you know, I got some $13 Walmart coolant back there, you know, because the way I look at it, if your coolant's leaking, you're probably going to have to drain the system and refill it anyway. So, anyway, came out, charged me $264 to say, I don't know where it's leaking from, here's a gallon of coolant. So, very expensive gallon of coolant that was, let me tell you. So, anyway, that aside, stressful week just because of that. I had a little oil leak, I got that fixed, I got the coolant leak, I had a new radiator put in the truck. The truck's getting 700,000 miles on it. I'm starting to replace some stuff. AC system I already replaced, alternator, radiator. You know, we're kind of going through it. When I get home next time, I'll probably get a starter put on. You know, it's not starting slow or anything, but with the heat coming on for summer, heat and electric motors usually don't play well together. So probably slap a starter on it just to say I did it. When I'm home next time, because I'd rather not have to pay a roadside guy the $300 to come out and put on a part I can put on myself. So that's what we're working on, but that's why it made the week a little bit more stressful, just because of the coolant leak and have to run the truck through the mountains. Same thing when I pulled Mont Eagle on the way home on the week after. No, that was stressful. The long way up Mont Eagle with a truck blowing coolant everywhere. Pretty stressful, because you definitely don't want to overheat a truck and blow a head gasket, you know what I mean? I'd rather be towed off the side of Mont Eagle for a radiator than to you know, have to get a head gasket replaced. Luckily though, the fan kicked on a few times and it cooled itself down, and right on up Mont Eagle we went with our load of chicken. But those were the 2 loads of the week. Minnesota to West Virginia via all over Kentucky, and then Ohio down to Atlanta area. So let's talk about the money for the week. $8,500 total revenue. My 80% of that is $6,800. We did 2,053 all-in miles on the week. 132 of that was empty miles. 1921 of that was a loaded miles. 7% deadhead. That's pretty good. I can live with 7% deadheads. That is 414 all miles, $4.14 for every mile the truck turned. $3.31 a mile, my 80% cut, and $4.42 a loaded mile. Not bad at all. Diesel cost just continue to climb. If you don't know, check out the description down below for the Mudflap app. I do appreciate everybody that signs up using my promo code. It gets me $10 in free fuel, gets you $10 in free fuel, and we can all save some money together. So $12.20 in diesel, $52 in reefer. Like I say, that first load was start and stop, and 32 degrees, and it was still cool outside, so not a whole lot of reefer running on that. I switched trailers. I got a 2017 trailer now with a thermoking S700 on it. It's doing a phenomenal job. It's a really good trailer. So I dig that. Low reefer cost here lately. $32 in def, $26 on scales, $33 in tolls, and that makes my variable cost $13.63. We bring over my $6,800 and we subtract $13.63, which is my variable cost, and that leaves me $5,437 in variable cost. And a lot of people, or a couple people, not a lot, a couple people said, I liked it when you used to put the numbers up on the screen and everything, and I gotta be honest with you, that takes a lot of time to edit all that in for me, because I'm not very tech savvy and I do it all on my phone. So instead of that, I tell you what I'll do, I'll flash a picture up here and you can hit pause. I write everything out on the windshield and with a dry erase marker, and that's how this is exactly how I write it out for the video. I'll just throw it up here for you, and you can pause it and take a look at how I write everything out. That's how I do it for variable cost. But you know, I had somebody say, you know, last couple weeks ago, I had $1,200 in variable cost. And they said, well, how can you have $1,200 in variable cost when you have $1,000 worth of fuel. And I said, well, you know, I give you all my variable cost. And he says, oh, you don't have a truck payment or insurance or anything like that? That's not variable cost, just so everybody knows. Variable cost are things that change, and I know it's called veritable, you know, and I say it wrong, but I don't care because it's how I say it. I'm a hillbilly at heart, and I say a lot of things wrong, but anyway, I know the people that give me hell about that. It's all in good fun. I don't care. If you say something that's joking and funny, I take a joke. You know, it's like the personal insults are the ones where I just block everybody these days. I ain't got time for it, but if you're just joking and being funny, I can take a joke. But anyway, this guy didn't understand what variable cost was, so I explained it to him. I don't have a truck payment, which is great, but you know, a truck payment would be fixed cost. The difference is fixed costs are the same every week, every month, and variable costs, they change rate. You know, they change by what you do, by what you run. If I sit at the house all week, I don't have any fuel cost. So, you know, it changes. So that's the difference between that. I know there's a lot of people, you know, that watch these videos new to the game and business and stuff. I give you a good bit of advice is read or get some audio books about business, and try to get as good as you can at it. Because let me tell you a little story. I was talking to my buddy today about he was talking about watching some show on TV on Netflix or something in his truck. And I said, I don't ever have time to watch TV in my truck. Like, never. If I got time to watch TV, it's like the old McDonald's saying, if I got time to lean, I got time to clean. You know what I mean? If I've got time in this truck, I'm trying to figure out how to make more money. I told him today, let me give you a little something here, a little pinch of something. I got my Google's news feed set up to tell me when they open a new Love's store. So anytime there is a new Love's that opens, if there's a news article about it, it comes through my Google feed. You know why I do that? Because when they open a new Love's, that's going to be the cheapest fuel prices in the area. Love's don't play. Love's don't play. But there you go. There's your little tidbit. But I don't know if I did the final cost. Did I? I don't know. I got to rambling. $6,800 minus $1,363 variable cost leaves me $5,437 to do what I have to do with. Sorry, let me work that in there real quick because people love that, what I have to do with. I don't doubt it, but I like to think they do. But yeah, so I said, you know, like, I'm always trying to think of something because, like, okay, they opened a new Love's in Cameron, Missouri. The Love's coming down 35 was on my EFS card that had the best prices in that area. The Love's above it, coming north of it, was 508. The Love's down around Kansas City was 509. That Cameron Love's right in the middle was $4.80 a gallon. Okay, 30 cents cheaper because that's the new Love's. They want to draw people in. You know what I mean? So, nowhere they're opening new Love's. You know, I stopped at the one in Minnesota the other day. I stopped at the one in Cameron, Missouri. I did short videos on both of those, by the way. You can check those out if they're out already. They may be out later. I don't know. I schedule all my videos out, so they may be out. They may not be out. But that's a little trick of the trade. You know what I mean? Like, nobody told me that. I sat around and thought of that myself. You know, like, I got a news feed one time. It was like, oh, they're opening a new Love's in New York. And I'm like, that's pretty good to know. I like to know where they're opening all of them. Because it's not like you know, there's a million stories about opening new Love's. So when they're going to open a new one, that Cameron, Missouri one wasn't even on the Love's app the other day when I stopped there and got fuel. Like, the parking lot never even filled up at night. I don't think the shop's open. The restaurant wasn't open when I stopped. It was just the store and the fuel. And, you know, saved 30 cents a gallon there. You know what I mean? 30 cents a gallon, bought 100 gallons, saved 30 bucks right there. You know, just keep that in mind. You know, like, that's business. That's how I think of business. I want every advantage possible. Now, most of the time, if you come on here and you support this channel, I'll share what I know with you. You know, I try to help you. But just know that guy in the truck next to you, if he can do it better, he gonna do it better. So I try not to be outdone too much in business. It's a little, I'm not OCD, but when it comes to business, I think I may be a little OCD because I'm just like, I never stop thinking of a way, just what's better than what I'm already doing, and how can I get better at this, and how can I get better at that. It's all strategy to me, business. So just a little food for thought there. Maybe that'll help somebody out. If you got a new Love's opening next to you, be sure to check those fuel prices on those new Loves. Usually for about the first 2 to 3, maybe even a month, they will run those fuel prices cheaper like that just to keep people, or to get people to start coming into the store. So there's that. Hope everybody enjoyed that weekly recap. Thanks to all the subscribers out there. Appreciate you guys. Be sure to hit those thumbs up and the bells and everything they say. And leave me a comment. And until later, take care of each other. Remember, people are more important than trucking.